Now on Disability Matters, we're talking to Dearbhail Mullan, who is the treasurer with Williams syndrome. And we'll hear all about Williams syndrome and also the organisation and all the great things that they do. But first, you're very welcome to the show.
Thanks very much for having me on.
It's great to have you. So as a start point, you might tell us a bit about Williams syndrome and about the symptoms.
Okay, so Williams syndrome is a rare genetic neurodevelopmental condition. A neurodevelopmental condition means that it's to do with your brain, and developmental means that it's going to take a while for your development may be delayed and compared to the norm. It is a microdeletion of chromosome 7, a small few lines of genetic code haven't passed across. And it can impact your health, but it's not life-limiting, especially in today's world where there's so many interventions for heart surgery and similar types of issues. It causes high sociability and musicality, and our people are really, really, really good fun, and they're very kind and compassionate and expressive. They're just the best crack ever, and they can do anything anyone else can do. It might just take them a little bit longer to get there if they have the right supports.
So they can live a normal-ish life, just a little slower pace than most people.
Yeah, it's mostly about having the support early enough to develop your independence and to have the supports in place to help you with education and life skills.
Does it mean they can be too trusting in certain situations? Yeah.
So yes, Williams syndrome people in general are really good friends. They want to be friends with everybody, but the offside of that is that it's very hard to unfriend a Williams person. No matter what you do, they'll still probably want to be your friend, and they're very loyal and trusting. And with my own son, I could meet somebody that Kieran met when he was 3 and he would still know who they were, and he's 16 now. So when they're younger, you do have an element of flight risk. And as you go older, you may have issues with not understanding money or wanting to be overgenerous with money and stuff like that. But as I said, these are all skills that anyone can learn. It's just about support and education.
Do they reach all the normal milestones, or are they a little bit slow to get there?
Yeah, it's developmental disorder. It just takes you a little bit longer to get there. I mean, there's nothing really that Kieran has want to do. If he's motivated to do it, he will get there. It'll just take a little bit longer. Maybe maths, reading and writing. The writing, you may be better off using maybe a computer and typing and stuff like that. But it just takes time. We're finding that nowadays, educationally, lots of SNAs and teachers and stuff are interested in, finding the best way, and the resources are there. If the schools have the funding and the space and the time to do those, that most educators are very open to learning about the Williams profile and assisting people in that area. But then, when you said to me about independent living and stuff, most Williams people might not want to live independently. They want to live with a big group of friends and have the crack, you know what I mean? So there's certain things that they might struggle with, and they may not ever get to the top of the board on some stuff. But I mean, you could say that about anyone.
Of course.
Everyone has their strengths. But mostly we would find that with support and educators and a wider social group that are interested in engaging and helping, that it's possible.
And that's where Williams Syndrome Ireland comes in, but we'll talk about that shortly.
Yeah.
Is there a treatment?
There's not really a treatment. It's it's a genetic mutation, I suppose, is the word people would use. But treatment in the fact that if you have a physical element, because the genetic thing means that your elastin in your muscles and stuff might be compromised. There's treatment for the physical aspects, and then you can go and do therapies to assist you with the developmental, because it is an intellectual disability, so to help you with that element of it. But it's not, It's not what some people might say curable, or
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So there's just, you use different ways, pathways to help you with the elements that you're struggling with.
And do we know how many children have it?
So this is a kind of a funny one. Some places would say it's like 1 in 7,500. It
Right.
would be underdiagnosed in Ireland. Improvements in genetic testing mean that it's been diagnosed a lot more. We wouldn't see a 1 in 7,500 diagnosis rate in Ireland. It's probably closer to 1 in 10,000 or even higher than that, I would say. We wouldn't be a huge charity. We wouldn't have masses of members. So I think but we are seeing more and more babies being diagnosed because the genetic testing is available there, as opposed to waiting to see some of the maybe intellectual side or sometimes the physical manifestations of Williams syndrome coming to the fore to allow diagnosis. Nowadays, they can do specific test to see the microdeletion.
The body is a very complex thing, and we're
It is.
finding more and more that we talk to people or charities that support people with problems with chromosomes, and it's just becoming more widespread from what we can see, or maybe we're just finding them out.
I think the improvement, as I said, in genetic testing means that it can be a specific diagnosis can be made. So that's, there. I mean, Williams syndrome is one of those syndromes that it's equally diagnosed across girls and boys and all ethnicities across the world. It's not specific to any one group of people. So I think it's just an improvement in diagnosis, and the I think that the drive to improve inclusivity means that you feel that if you can get early intervention with an early diagnosis for some things, it can improve your ability to, just to be educated and to get the supports that you need. So I think that's often a driver for diagnosis for people. It's so that they can access the type of information and therapies and supports that their child might need to live up to their potential.
Can I ask you about your diagnosis that you had? Was it a shock, a relief, or did you understand something was going on?
So Kieran is 16. He was born 2008. He's my firstborn child. He's the firstborn grandchild. He was had a lot of surgeries when he was small. He didn't sleep. He didn't eat particularly well. He had a lot of stomach issues. And a lot of his developmental delay was put down to the fact that he'd had these surgeries, and of the usual physical manifestations from a point of view of blood tests and things like that, Kieran didn't have. So a lot of Williams people would have heart murmurs, and they would have elevated level of calcium in their blood, and Kieran was coming back negative on all these things. So the Williams syndrome wasn't diagnosed until he went to primary school, and the teacher pulled me aside and said, I think, you really need to go and have an assessment. So we privately went to go and have an assessment, and the psychologist that came to see us was a clinical and educational psychologist, and she knew straight off that Kieran had Williams syndrome because she had
Wow.
experience with it. But she had said to us, look, go and get the test, don't Google doctor it. And so when we got the diagnosis, to be honest, it was a relief, because we hadn't any early intervention. We had no therapies. Kieran was really struggling with school. And suddenly we had access, I'd say suddenly we had access. Obviously, there was a huge time delay on everything. And I mean, I never got to see an early learning team. Kieran was gone from primary school. I mean, we could talk about that delay all day. But it was a relief. And, there was obviously certain things that we really, really struggled with, like his sleep. Why was he in pain in his stomach all the time? And these are all physical manifestations of Williams syndrome due to the elastin issue. His stomach finds it hard to process food when they're small. So, he was very uncomfortable a lot of the time, and he obviously couldn't verbalize it.
Yeah.
So it's great.
It's a
and now
relief.
Yeah, it was a relief. Now, obviously, nobody wants to know that their child's life is going to be a little bit more difficult. So that was hard, but I did find Williams Syndrome Ireland very, very helpful. They were wonderful from the get-go. And because we're a small charity, we're maybe not as overwhelming as some of the other charities. And something that we work very hard on is if somebody just wants to dip in, or if they want to join a WhatsApp group and talk to the parents, but are a little bit apprehensive about coming to a big event, that all those options of reaching out to us are available. And we try to be active on our social medias to let people see what's going on and provide information. Like this week, last week we had a lady reach out, and she's got a newborn that's been diagnosed, and we've arranged for her to go and meet some parents in her area, or some parents of children who are not too much older, because what we find is that everyone's experience with going through the disability services changes constantly. So what somebody who might be 50 experienced when they were, in primary school is no way related to what's available now. And even what I got for Kieran has moved on so much more now, even for the kids that are starting primary school now, their experience is much better. So we try to match parents like that. So it's been good. Kieran is very sociable.
Good.
He likes joining lots of clubs and being involved with everybody. I have a constant gaggle of teenagers outside my front window. My fridge and my cupboards are constantly being raided, but that is not a complaint. It's wonderful. For us, I would find that perhaps the teenager is just heightened. So the issues with social media are heightened. The issues with who they're hanging around with are heightened. The issues of being a boy or a teenage girl and your peers, it's just heightened. And his understanding of non-verbal cues and things like that can be very hard for him.
Yeah.
So, but again, the more he's out with people of his own age group, the more he learns through them. And, so that's that. And then Kieran, we was in mainstream school until he was in 4th class during COVID. And we moved to a special needs school in Blackrock in County Dublin. It's called St. Augustine's, and that for him is a safe space. But everybody's experience with how they determine their education is very different. Some people stay in mainstream school the whole way through. It can depend on the ability of your school, the support system that the school has in place. We just decided for Kieran that the social pressure of being in a mainstream school would overwhelm him. And he was starting to be very self-critical about his learning abilities in the mainstream school because he was comparing himself to his age group. So his age group wasn't in line with his developmental speed. And in the special school, it's at his speed.
Oh, very cool.
And then, and that works for him. But many, many, many kids, Kieran's age and younger especially, are in mainstream secondary schools and primary schools. So it's up to each individual. And Williams syndrome, it's very hard to speak about it sometimes because there's lots of commonalities, but then it's like any generalization you make about a group of people. Everyone is themselves. Kieran comes to the front door and my mum is going, "Oh my God, that's your father." You know what I mean? It's not like he's not just Williams syndrome. He's himself. He just happens to have Williams syndrome and certain aspects of that are in common with other people.
I get you. If we get on then to the organisation Williams Syndrome Ireland, do you know when that was organ was founded and when it came
Yep.
on stream?
So Williams syndrome will be 35 years old next year. And it was two ladies from one from Galway and one from the Midlands, I think, that set it up. And they were no diagnosis really there except for maybe physical, a doctor perhaps having some connection with it. So they really started from, we do a lot of fundraising. I'll do the plug for the fundraising at the end.
Yeah.
And we do an awful lot of socially, so we kind of bridge between a couple of different areas. We do a lot of social activities because our members, that's really important to our members, that they get to meet up with their Williams family, because we're spread out around the country, and it's very important that people get to meet other Williams people, and they can identify those kind of similarities between themselves. It also gives families support, siblings. We see now at the events that all the siblings are friends, and in the future, when they're grown ups, they'll have similar siblings as a support structure for information and support with any issues that they're having. And then we would be big into helping anyone with problems in their education, that we would send them out information, speak to teachers, with any, helping teachers understand the education profile, and then raising awareness for Williams Syndrome Ireland. And then, so a lot of that sort of stuff that we're able to pass on information. Yeah.
So it's very much peer-led, peer
so the committee,
support-led.
yeah, it's very much peer support led. We have like all the volunteers at present who are committee members are all parents. We have one sibling, Fionnuala, that does amazing work down in Mary Immaculate College. She runs a camp for the adults. This year she's got baby camp as well, and for our Williams syndrome members and their siblings. And that's on between June and July every year. And we fundraise for that. And it's all Williams syndrome driven, because we would find perhaps that a lot of stuff is aimed towards conditions that have just got larger numbers, maybe Down syndrome or ASD. And our learning profile is quite different. So it's nice to have a specific event that's just aimed at Williams syndrome learning profile and helping them.
Can I ask you, and I'm going to ask you again at the end, how do people get in touch with you?
So we have a website, but mostly the easiest way to get to us is either through Facebook or Instagram. Through, you can direct message us through those. And we also have our email, which is info@williamsyndrome.ie. And we are, as committee, it's all volunteers. So if it takes us a day or two to get back to you, have patience. We are there, but we will definitely get back to you, because we've all been in your shoes.
Yeah.
Our committee members have kids from the age of 3 to 40. So whatever stage of Williams syndrome you are at, or your child is at, or the person that your guardian for is at, we probably have a committee member with that they're responsible for. That,
and I can recommend the website, which is williamsyndrome.ie. It's full of information. And if I had Williams syndrome, that would be my first port of call.
Yes. Yes.
And I ask you about wishes. What's this?
So wishes, Fionnuala Tynan is the sister of Jarlath Tynan, and she is a lecturer in inclusive methodologies in Mary Immaculate College in Limerick. And Fionnuala, we are totally privileged to have access to Fionnuala, because she understands Williams syndrome from the perspective of being a family member and also from being an educator. So she wrote Wishes as a book, as a guide for educators and also for parents who are educators in the home, as for learning techniques for Williams syndrome. Things like maybe sensory sensitivities, problems with like learning numbers, to use concrete, concrete forms of learning, and any questions that educators would have about Williams syndrome. And that book, when we have a new member come and join, that's the first thing we give them, is the Wishes book. So that's very helpful.
And it's available on the website.
Yeah, so if you contacted Williams syndrome, we would be able to get you a copy, no problem.
Very good. You said you've only 4 staff. You must use volunteers for other stuff.
So we actually have no paid staff. It's just 8
All right.
committee members and associate committee members. So we have Brian Hearn as our Williams syndrome associate committee member for a couple of years. And at the last AGM, we had more Williams syndrome come onto associate committee. And then we have 8 people on main committee, and as I said, they're all parents. So we are very volunteer led, and I'm conscious that Volunteering Week Ireland is coming up now in a couple of weeks' time. And yes, thanks to all our volunteers who come, and a certain number of them are siblings. And then we are doing a big drive for volunteers, and we have an activity camp for adults in September, and we'll be looking for volunteers for that. And Fionnuala gets volunteers from the college who have an education background for her camps in June and July. But we're always looking for volunteers. So if you're interested in volunteering with Williams Syndrome Ireland, contact us on the email. All the contact details are on the website, and we'd be delighted to hear from you. And the only prerequisite of being a Williams Syndrome volunteer is that you like to have a chat. Because
good.
Williams people will like to have a chat with you.
Now, you said you fundraise. Have you got anything upcoming?
Yes, so this is Williams Syndrome Awareness Month. The month of May across the world is Williams Syndrome Awareness Month. Every year we have our annual summer picnic, usually in Clonfert Farm in County Kildare, with the wonderful people that run Clonfert Farm. And this year we're doing our 7 walks for Williams, and that's a tie-in to the fact that Williams syndrome is a microdeletion of chromosome 7. We are fundraising. We also have a group for the first time running the Women's Mini Marathon. So if you want to check us out on the Williams site, on iDonate or Give and Gain, or on the VHI Women's Mini Marathon site, we have a link to Williams Syndrome Ireland. So I'm walking it. One of the other committee members is running it. I have another committee member walking it with me, and we're going to have an area for all the siblings and any of our male family members that want to come and cheer us on. We'll have an area. I think we're going to have it maybe around Ballsbridge. But if anybody wants to sponsor us, we'd be only delighted to have the encouragement.
And as we're coming right to the end of our time, unfortunately, because I'm really enjoying it, is there anything else you'd like to put out there before we go?
So for me personally, and I know for a lot of parents, inclusion is a massive thing. And we would encourage that all clubs and groups would take the time to think about how they could adapt their activity to include people with additional needs. It's wonderful to have a separate special group for Special Olympics and things like that. My own son does adaptive taekwondo, and that allows him to do competitions at his level. But also it's extremely important to be part of your own community. So Kieran, for example, and I know a couple of our other younger members, they might be coaches on the mainstream teams. So Kieran helps coach the Coola 2008 boys Gaelic team. I know that Owen McCabe up in Louth, he coaches he's 20, he helps coach his team. We have another girl, Aoife in Louth, and she's coaching her sister's team, and she joins in with her sister's training. And that is very, very important, to learn how to interact with your peers, to be taught about social media, because of whatever mum and dad said isn't really how the world works when it comes to social media, and all those sort of things that are peer driven. You need to be part of your wider community. So we would really, really encourage people. A lot of the councils and corporations have sports ability departments now, that they will have someone there that will help you adapt your club or sport to allow inclusion of everybody. you know, like Kieran does All Stars for the Gaelic. He's kind of aged out of it now, and that's fantastic. But you know, as I said, he loves being the coach for the 2008 boys. And then if he meets them on the road or whatever, they're his friends. That's his access into his wider community for the rest of his life. And that's a big push for us. So we would see that, you know, adapt your club or group for inclusion of everybody, and your life and your community would be enriched for it.
Dearbhail, thanks so much for talking to Disability Matters.
I'm only delighted to talk to you all. Thank you so much for having
It was
me.
our pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay. Take
Thank
care.
you.
Bye.